Okay, let's talk finance. How do you balance being compassionate with being efficient? I mean, that's a fundamental tension, right? Today, we're going to look at two super interesting concepts from Islamic economics that get right to the heart of this.
Welcome to another explainer video on the Fiqh for Economics series. So yeah, in this one, we are going to unpack the principles of absolution, or Ibra, and this really smart idea of a set-off, which is called Muqassah.
And really, the whole ethical foundation for what we're talking about today, it's captured beautifully right here in this verse from the Quran. It basically says, hey, financial dealings aren't just about the numbers. They're about compassion. And that idea, that's the very spirit behind the first concept we're going to tackle. Okay, so first up, Ibra. I really like to think of this one as the art of absolution. It's this incredible tool for actually building mercy right into the contracts of commerce and finance.
So, what does the word Ibra even mean? Well, if you look at its literal meaning, the root of the word is all about purification, release, or even abandonment. You can kind of think of it as just wiping the slate totally clean for someone.
But here's the thing, it gets a lot more specific than that. Technically speaking, Ibra isn't just you casually saying, don't worry about it. No, it's a formal, binding contract. It's where a creditor officially drops their claim. So it's a very structured, very legal act of forgiveness.
And for one of these contracts to actually be valid, it has to stand on these four pillars. So first, you've got the creditor, that's al-Mubre. Then you've got the debtor, the one being forgiven, al-Mubra. The third pillar is the debt itself, al-Haq. And finally, you have the declaration, the formal statement, which is called the Sikha. It's kind of like a legal equation, right? You need all four parts for the whole thing to work. And of course, there are rules to make sure this is all done fairly. The creditor, for instance, has to have the legal capacity to do this, and they have to be doing it willingly. No one can force them. The debtor also has to be known and specified. You can't just forgive some vague entity. And this is a big one. The debt has to exist right now. You can't forgive a future debt. And lastly, the declaration has to be immediate and without any strings attached.
Now, it's super important to get this straight. Ibrar is not the same as giving a gift, or what's known as hiba. See, Ibra is all about waiving a debt that's already on the books. A gift, on the other hand, is about transferring ownership of something new to someone. The legal effect is totally different. Ibrar is an annulment. Poof, the liability is just gone. A gift is a transfer. And you can see why that distinction is absolutely vital when you're talking about financial contracts.
All right, so now let's flip the coin over and look at the other concept, Muqassah. This is the efficient set-off. And if you think of Ibra as being all about mercy, well, Muqassah is all about justice and just being practical. The word Muqassah literally means equality or balancing. I mean, just picture a set of scales, perfectly balanced. That is the core idea we're talking about.
So what is it in practice? Well, technically, Muqassah is what happens when two parties owe each other money. So instead of you paying me and me paying you in two separate transactions, we can just deduct the amounts from each other. It's a really common-sense, efficient way to settle mutual debts.
And Muqassah actually comes in two main flavors. The first is what we call automatic set-off. This is simple. Let's say I owe you $100 and you owe me $100 and both are due today. They can just automatically cancel each other out. We don't even need to agree to it, it just happens. But what if the debts aren't identical? Like, what if I owe you dollars, but you owe me euros? Well, that's where the second type comes in, voluntary set-off. And as the name suggests, this one requires both of us to actually sit down and agree on how we're going to settle it.
Okay, that's the theory. But how do these concepts, which are centuries old, actually apply in the world today? Let's take a look at some real, modern applications you'll find in Islamic finance.
Let's use Malaysia as a great example. You know when an Islamic bank gives you a rebate because you paid off your car financing early? Yep, that's ISRA in action. Or when banks restructure loans for people who are facing real hardship. That's also ISRA. And what about Muqassah? Oh, it's used all the time for netting payments between banks, which makes the whole financial system run way more efficiently. So see, these aren't just dusty old theories. They are active, modern financial tools being used every single day.
All right, you've been listening to me for a bit. Now it's your turn to get involved. Let's see what you've picked up. I've got a few quick questions for you. Okay, question number 1. What is the main objective of an Ibra contract? Take a look at your options here. A, to transfer debt. B, to sell a debt at a discount. C, to forgive a debt or waive a claim. Or D, to convert a debt into an asset. Go ahead and drop your answer, A, B, C, or D, down in the comments. I'll give you a second.
Ready for number 2? Okay, here it is.
Which of the following is not a valid subject for an Ibra contract? Think back to those conditions we talked about. Is it A, B, C, or D? Let me know what you think is the right answer in the comments. We'll give it a moment.
And our last question. What is a key difference between automatic and voluntary Muqassah? Read the options carefully. Is the big difference about currency, a judge, mutual consent, or deferred debts? Pop your final answer in the comments. Hey, thanks for playing along. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. But what's the big takeaway from all this? What's the ethical bottom line here? When you boil it all down, Islamic finance gives us these two really powerful tools that actually complement each other perfectly. You've got Ibra, which injects compassion and solidarity right into the system. It gives a formal way to provide relief. And then you have Muqassah, which makes sure that transactions are efficient, fair, and just. It's really the perfect balance of, well, heart and head.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. You know, as our economies get more and more complex, how do we strike that right balance between strict financial accountability on one hand and genuine human compassion on the other? The principles of Ibra and Muqassah, they offer a pretty powerful framework to start that conversation. What do you think? Thanks so much for joining me for this explain.